Record the computer. Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, and listeners of Simpler Methods, everyone, entrepreneurs, business owners, people interested in learning simpler methods to promoting your business and marketing yourself and getting that message tighter and tweaking everything you do for profits and living your lifestyle and tweaking that. Thank you for tuning in today, for listening in today. Today I have with me Jerome Lewis. He's a real estate expert, and this is one of the reasons I'm very excited to talk to him, because I've been trying to get into this and losing hours and hours and hours of my own time. I know nothing about this. So I'm going to talk to Jerome. I'm going to, and this is where I edit. So Jerome Lewis, first of all, let me just bring you on. And so the listeners know you're a real person and you're here and you're not made up. Jerome, say hello to everybody and tell us just about 10 seconds. I'll give you a little more chance to kind of brag on yourself here in just a moment. But Jerome Lewis, from what website and from where are you zooming in from?
Hi everyone. My name is Jerome Lewis. My website, the best website for me is jeromelewis.com. I have some other websites, but to learn about me as an individual, jeromelewis.com. I am from and I live in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Back to you, Drew.
Nice. Okay, I didn't know that. All right. So Jerome and I met in some of these groups. If you're an entrepreneur, you probably understand. You get in these groups, you get in these, you probably pay to play and get in some of these mentorship circles, and it's kind of a small world. And so I met Jerome, and I thought he was from Florida. I thought you were from Florida. Were you in Florida at any point?
Yeah, I was in Florida when we talked the first time
Okay,
on
all
on
right.
my podcast. Yep.
I'm like, please don't did I get that right? No, whoa. Or the dementia is really early onset dementia setting in quite heavily. But no, okay. So now you're in Pennsylvania. Um, all right, well, Jerome, I'm gonna put you in. All right, so let me set up listeners first of all. You're tuning into Simpler Methods. The premise of this is that if you're listening in, you're a business owner, you got something that you're trying, or you're a leader of an organization, you're a leader, and you're trying to promote and push some kind of message. You're trying to make your life better, and it goes like this. So anyone on the show says, "Hello, my name is fill in the blank." In this case, is today we're talking to Jerome, and every day I see people just trying to get at blank. And that Mad Lib formula is some kind of desired result that you're trying to get. Well, you're probably overcomplicating it. In fact, most of us are, myself included, everyone, we're overcomplicating many things in our life. So you're overcomplicating things. You're probably running into all kinds of pitfalls and hurdles and obstacles. And if you would there's a simpler method. And if you just consider taking a breath, taking a pause, backing up and trying A, B, and C, maybe see how your results would go. Probably get you much closer to the result much faster. So Jerome is going to take us through that formula for something that might interest us today, might interest the listener. But before I hand it over to do that formula for Jerome, I'm going to put you in the brag bubble. All right. You have permission. You have my permission. Let's get in the brag bubble a little bit, because people are busy. They're listening in. They're listening to the simple method. They're listening into this formula here. They want to learn this, but why would they even pay attention to what you have to say? What gives you some authority on it? And I'll set you up a little bit, because you're probably going to talk about your book. You literally wrote the book on remarketing and like real estate marketing. So I don't know if you're going to go there, but I'm going to hand you the baton. Take us through a little bit of your backstory. What got you to the current point where you're going to give us some advice about a simpler method?
Yeah, sure. So I have quite a few stories, but the best one, and just so when people hear me say people, my people are real estate entrepreneurs. So those are my people. And the reason why they're my people is because that's where I started. I started off as a well, I didn't start there, but a significant change happened there. I was working a W-2 job and I had like a family. I was like, you know what? I want to support my family. How could I do this a little bit better? This is just quick and dirty. And I did some research online and I came across real estate as being one of the best assets that you can invest in. I was like, okay, I'm going to do that. That's what I'm going to do. I did some studying and the ultimately I learned it's like, hey, if you really want to do well, you got to go out and network. And at the end of networking, you should probably eventually get yourself a coach. And I was like, okay, yeah, I want to get me a coach so I can be better in real estate. And I sought out that coach for a real estate investing coach that teach me how to apply a method called wholesaling within the real estate industry.
Oh,
Sought him out, and I was like, I'm ready to go. Let's do this thing. What's your price? And he was like, uh, my price is $3,000. And I was like, whoa, that's a lot of money. I don't have anywhere near that much money, and it took me 2 years to save up $3,000 so I could pay for that coach. But I eventually paid for that coach, and he taught me how to wholesale. And one of the things I learned within that industry, the wholesale industry, is um, how important marketing is, right? You have to go find these properties, you have to go find these sellers, and you have to help them solve problems. But you can't solve problems if those leads or those sellers are not coming in. So learn how to find them. And naturally, at the time, I did not know that I learned this skill of marketing. So I eventually went to like during this journey and learning all of this stuff, one of the things that the mentor suggested was that I go out and network and I build these relationships. So I would do that. I would show up consistently, right? Sometimes I see people come 1 or 2 events and then you never hear from them again. So I make sure I showed up consistently, and the leaders saw me showing up consistently and they asked me, "Hey, Jerome, you're always around. How would you like to be a co-leader of one of our groups?" And I was like, absolutely, sure, that's no problem. And they were like, well, as a co-leader, one of the things that we need you to do is we need you to help get people here, right? And they made me a co-leader of the group in West Philadelphia, right? So I'm from Philadelphia. And at the time when I started that group, it was about 5 people attending that event. And that wasn't a lot. By that time next year, we had an overflow of people. So we had more than 100 by just applying my suggestions, right? I teamed up with this other leader and he would take my suggestions, right? I always like to reference the book Traction. He would take my suggestions. He was the visionary, I was the integrator. So whenever I suggested, he would do. He was like, "Hey, I'm thinking about this. This is my idea." And I was like, "All right, well, this is how we do that idea." So I'm the integrator personality or behavior type business personality. Um, so he stayed out of my way and we did so well, like we grew that group. Next thing they were like, "Hey, Jerome, we see you're doing great. How would you like to become part of our board of directors?" And I was like, "Oh, sure, I would be happy to do that." And this is all before, and tell me if I'm being like too long-winded or something like that.
Well, no, I'm enjoying
Okay.
the
Okay.
process because, and I'll throw in here
Mhm.
where no, I'll leave a little
Okay.
teaser there so now the listeners like, where's Drew gonna go? I noticed
Okay.
something you said and it's gonna
Got
come
you.
up.
So all the entire time I'm like helping this group in this organization grow, I'm thinking I'm just applying my IT skills. So I'm like, it's just basic computer knowledge. And it's like, so that's what I'm doing. But eventually, 2020 came, and that's when the pandemic came. So the pandemic came and our group started to struggle because we had to take everything online. So we still had the technology and we're like, what is happening? What's going on? And we're just trying to figure this thing out. We're like, we're trying to get this thing to grow, but it's not growing. Something is not right. And we were part of another group. We joined another group because to another mastermind, like you mentioned in the beginning.
Yeah.
And they were like, look, these are some things that you can do to grow your groups. And I'm like, all right, great, let's go implement this stuff so we can grow our groups. And I kept getting this resistance from one of the members about like growing the group. And
Hmm.
that member was just didn't understand. So we struggled a little bit internally on that. And I was like everything we did before it grew. Like, I don't know what's the big holdup. Let's just do this stuff and the way that's being suggested from some of the group. And for a while we struggled and we tried some of that stuff. And we went back to the main mastermind. I'm going to call it RMG. That was the name of the group. We went back to RMG, and RMG invited a special guest, someone that when I first got into real estate, I could have never saw myself like even meeting or talking to or anything like that. And that special guest was Ron LeGrand. Ron LeGrand is well known in the real estate industry. He is great. I've known him as a real estate person, but he is a real estate person. But the reason why Ron LeGrand does so well is because of his marketing.
Hmm.
And he came to us and he talked to all of the groups, every group there. And he was like, you know what's wrong with your groups? None of you know how to market. And when he said that, it sat with me, it stuck with me for some reason. I was like, okay,
Hmm.
that's the problem. And maybe it was because I respected him and his business and his business acumen, but I was like, okay, the problem is we don't know how to market. And because we don't know how to market, I'm going to go learn how to market, not only for the organization's sake, but for my sake as well. And because of that, we had some success and eventually we grew. But um, going through that process, like going to learn to market, I took training, and one of the people that Ron LeGrand learned from was Dan Kennedy.
Mhm.
And so I took up on that. I took that coaching and I did that programming. And because of that coaching and that programming, I had a lot of success and a lot of results. And eventually, somewhere along that process, when I was like learning, I reached out to Ron LeGrand. I was like, hey, I'm writing this book. I'm a member of Dan Kennedy, and I'm just reaching out to you because I respect you. And I would like to know if you would contribute a foreword to my book. And he said, yes, because we had that relationship. And he wrote the foreword. And that's a long-winded way, right, for me to say that I'm an author and
Yeah.
I know what I'm talking about, and my results prove that I know what I'm talking about. So that's me bragging a little bit. I just wanted to give the story
That's
version.
that's cool. You had total permission to do it, and it's enlightening because I got to hear like the background Ron LeGrant. I was just on another interview and with one of our mentors with Justin Brook, and he mentioned Dan Kennedy. Dan Kennedy is such a legend and a classic. Like he's and he's still alive, right?
Hmm.
He's not like one of the late, like like Gary Halbert or I think Joseph Sugarman was a copywriter that just recently passed in the past couple of years. Anyway, so Dan Kennedy, he's a legend. He's a classic. He's still a legend. I think he sold whatever his thing was. It was something like Get Clients. What was it? Like the initials were like GKIC.
GKIC,
Yeah, yeah. What
Razor
was it?
Kennedy Insider Circle was the
Oh,
name of it.
okay, okay.
Yep.
I thought Get Clients was in there somewhere, but that okay, yeah, that makes more sense. What you said. So you brought us into there. That's really impressive because with Ron LeGrant contributing the forward to your book, just just based on an ask, but you have that relationship.
Yes.
There's I'm going to keep people hanging on before you get to your simpler method because there's two things I wanted to bring up that I thought were very interesting, kind of profound things. You said that um, the leaders, at least two things that I'm going to bring up, or more than
Hmm.
that, but one was the leaders noticed. That's what I call it. Like when you were showing up and showing up consistently, and these are in person. So we're in such a
Yes.
virtual world and everything, especially like post pandemic, everything's Zoom this and Zoom that. But you were showing up in person and you got noticed. And I had a thought that went like this. One of my lessons that I would try to tell people was that the people they think are VIPs um, often are not. I go back and look at my own email list from years ago, and maybe I just like you, I'm going to confess, like I didn't show up enough, like consistent enough, and but yeah, a lot of times you'll find, and you can speak to this too, like VIPs, the people you think are VIPs. Ooh, look at that name, they're a big deal, he and her, and they're if I can only get the attention of them, that's how I think a lot of us think as we're growing and coming kind of into ourselves, kind of coming into our gifts and our talents as we're working with real clients and accidentally discovering some of those along the way. But we find these VIPs, and what I noticed that a lot of these VIPs was unsubscribed from my list. So I'm like, oh, what I thought you liked me, and but they're busy. They got other things to do. They're not as much of a VIP as I thought so. But with you, what do you think the difference was between? And here I am confessing to my audience, like I did it wrong. My VIPs unsubscribed from my email list, and I thought I was sending such brilliant, insights. Jerome shows up and the leaders eventually they notice you and I'd call them VIPs and they said be a part of our board. Be more a part of our group. Come on and help us um contribute your gifts and insights into our board. What do you think I don't know anything more to unpack there or what to say to that?
Yeah, I think that you're like, what was the thing? And the thing, I think it's like a few things, and I don't know what the number is, but I'm going to try to go through them. So,
Yeah.
to me, what I think that probably the main thing or a significant thing in that, like, because I was showing up, and one of the things I didn't say about like me showing up was like I was young. I didn't even have a car. So I was like really sacrificing to show up to these places. I was like really, really showing up, right? And like if you know me, like I'm one of those people, like, I don't no excuses. Like I made no excuses. I just
Right.
showed up, and it was like delayed gratification. So one of the things that probably stood out is like it's like in the entrepreneurial world, consistency can be a rare thing. So I was showing up consistently for these people that are not used to seeing consistency. Like people come around, oh, I'm interested in becoming a real estate investor. I'm interested in bettering myself. And they say one thing, but they do another, right? And despite like we all have jobs, right? At the time I had jobs, I got kids, I had all of that stuff too. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to figure out a way to make this work. And they, regardless of whatever I was going through, they saw the end result, me showing up. I was like, okay, this guy is showing up. And it's what's more important about me showing up. Like it's not the consistency is important, but underlying that consistency is like I can trust this person. This person is around. I can rely on this person to be there if I want to, or this person. It's like consistency. Like we trust in consistency. So I think that was a major thing. And then another major thing that I did was I would show up and I would volunteer. Do you need help with something? Can I do something for you? What do you need? How can I add value? And I want to be careful because I did ask how to add value, but I was always seeking proactively,
Yeah.
can you use this as value, right? Because sometimes people are like, oh, how can I add value to you? When we are asking people that are leaders and that are like busy, that's a very tough question for them to ask.
Yeah.
Like they don't have time to sit there and think about how you can add value. So you figure out a way, look, I can do these things and I can add value to you this way. And
Yeah.
that's the approach that some of us need to take, like lead with value. So consistency and leading with value, those are like the major points that I wanted to make.
Hmm. I'll add here too. I mean, I'm sure you'd agree with this. Well, one thing I heard you say is like there was an alignment with words and actions. You know, like a lot of people, I heard you say, like a lot of people say they say
Mhm.
one thing, and then you don't see them. They they become fought foat, fell off the face of the earth. That's that's my acronym.
Yeah, and
Like where'd they
and it's
go?
so to me, I think it's so easy to just show up. Like if you say something, just
Mhm.
show up. That's like half the battle. They're like, Jerome, oh my God. Sometimes I get compliments and they're like, Jerome, you're amazing. And I'm like, maybe. But what's really amazing is that I just kind of do what I say. I stick to my word. I do
Yeah.
like stuff that everybody can do. That's all.
And that was another thing because I'm sure it went like this. When you said you show up and you have something you ask like you're not just showing up like, oh, here's one thing that's more proactive. Like I think some people might have an unhealthy expectation that as long as I just show up and I'm just kind of here and I'm just kind of kick, like kicking the rock and going, okay, when's someone gonna notice me? That's not good luck because it's nothing's gonna happen. Yeah,
Mhm.
like we can just go ahead and tell you, like, no, but you were proactive and you were asking, I'm sure, key people to say, would it help? Like you were saying, you were offering some value. But one thing that I want to draw special attention to that I think is really helpful for listeners is that people are in their own life. They have their own problems. They have their own health, their own family, their own health of their family, their own jobs and businesses and their own promotions and own lack of a job. I mean, they have all their own problems in life to think about. They're not thinking about how you can help them. But when you come to them with clarity and say, I mean, what did you like offer like certain trainings and things like that? Like, hey, I could come and I could talk to this group about a, B, and C, or something real estate related, or something marketing related. Would that help? Would that? How did that look? Was you
Yeah,
were
so the conversation and the way for me, and then I want to add this because people sometimes it's like, oh my God, I don't know what I can add.
yeah.
For me at the time, like I didn't have, at least I didn't know, I didn't think I had like skills that were relevant to these people. But I'm like, you know what? What do I have? What can I add? At the time, I had an IT background. A lot of people are scared of IT and tech. So I'm like, okay, that's my skill. That's what I do. I can probably add this to these people. So I'm going to offer that. That's my skill set. That's my background. There are multiple ways that you can add value to people, but you just got to think of it. We won't know if you don't offer it. So I could have like there was skills that I offered, but I could have offered my background. I could have offered my experience. Hey, you know what? I used to see this happen at these events all of the time, and these people used to do it this way.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you should try that. Okay, I might not have time to do that, Jerome. Okay, I would be open to trying it for you, right? And that's just a way to kind of add value versus just sitting there, like you said, twiddle your thumbs. Oh, maybe like you might get a chance with that, but if you want to increase, like you got to show up and you got to be active, like be more proactive.
Right. Few people are going, well, I was going to spit this out. Well, I'll go ahead and spit out the thought and then we can see if it's accurate or not. I was going to say at first I was going to say, yeah, few people are going to proactively reach out to you just because you're there and say, hey, what is it you do? And they might say something like that, but it's all surface.
Hmm.
Even if they do, it's still very surface. There's not a
Hmm.
whole lot of action oriented. Cool. I'm going to ask you what you do in order to take what you do and optimize it for myself or the organization I lead, or whoever I lead. It's just chit chat. A lot of times just superficial. So that even if you get that, which is cool, and always be working on that elevator pitch or whatever, where you get someone going, oh wow, that's what you do. Do you have a card? But yeah, being proactive about uh, planting the idea very clearly about what you can do to someone else who can do something about it. You know, some people might be barking up the wrong tree. You ever done that? You ever kind of been barking up the wrong tree? You're like, oh, okay,
I have,
yeah,
yes.
yeah, and then you learn, and then you're like, okay, that VIP unsubscribe from my list.
Yep.
So, okay, well, take all right. So, are you ready to take us through this Mad Libs formula I have about a simpler method? Do you have a simpler method to take our listeners through? Something that you got in mind every day, you're seeing people trying to do blank and it's achieve something in the end. That's the end result. We're always after a result. And you see them doing this, or overcomplicating it, or undervaluing something, and you can help them. There's a simpler method to it. What about it?
Yes, I do. And so my people, when I say people, normally, and you can apply this to like other industries, but
Right,
you understand, just like I understand the importance of knowing who you're talking to and niching down.
right.
So most of the time, like this applies to anybody, but I usually deal with real estate entrepreneurs. So you can slash off real estate entrepreneurs and you could just say entrepreneurs, right?
And just so to clarify, real estate entrepreneurs might be real estate investors, real estate agents, real estate coaches,
Coaches, course creators. Yep.
course. So even real estate, so even those two categories, which are like real estate people with real estate experience that are building digital products and information products, like courses being one, and ebooks and things like that. And but yeah, okay, investors, all commercial, residential, doesn't matter, all the above.
Yes, all the above.
Okay, real estate entrepreneurs. Okay.
So my simpler method, which and it goes back to like marketing. Like when I was starting marketing, I was like, oh my God, what I'm doing, this stuff is working, but I don't understand what's going on here.
Mhm.
And I learned through my coaching and my mentors that there's a simpler way to market where you can like be accountable, where people can be accountable to numbers, data, statistics, right? And in the real estate industry, most times, right, we are giving our services and our time away for free.
Mhm.
We're doing that for free. We're posting on social media. We're like, hey, come do business with me, please, 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 please. And what I discovered, right, and it's it's not my method. I discovered is better marketing. And why do people want better marketing? Because they want to close more deals. But in order for you to get to those deals, you need to employ some marketing. So the simpler method is better marketing. And ultimately, the way you do that better marketing is through books.
Okay. Okay. So the book that you wrote, I was really curious about this because I was planning on asking you what was the process? How long did it take you to
Mhm,
write that? I got a book. I use a Scrivener as a
mhm,
software. It's really great. I've used it for quite some time, and um, it's great because it lets you kind of divvy out your chapters and kind of think
mhm,
through visually, like almost like in a card, like a note card kind of
mhm.
way, if you want to. It's But I got a book that's been on my hard drive for about for about 5 years now. Well, okay, so how do you execute on that? How do you go from writing the book, like the lightning version? How do you do that where you can actually get something published? Do you self-publish? Do you use Amazon, or what, like Create Space, or I don't even know if that's around anymore? What Take us through a little bit of that. And well, let me put this question here and we can come back to a little more, unpack a little more in depth. But like, so you're talking about marketing and writing a book, coming up with a book, publishing a book. that gives you authority, gives you notoriety, and then you can talk about maybe about some of the opportunities that it has led you to, that your book has kind of been like, oh, I wouldn't have seen myself getting that opportunity had it not been for what I produced. But take us through the book part, because this is, I think, a big it's a big boon to someone's career, can be, but it's also a big milestone and hurdle too.
Yes, absolutely. So, the simpler, like, so better marketing and the simpler method is, people are tired of marketing. They generally don't want to see like a bunch of marketing, right? So, why a book? Because people understand books and they don't feel like you're trying to get over on them when you send them a book, right? So you write that book, we publish that book, and then the interesting thing about the book is that most people won't even read it. It's just like everything else, 80-20, and probably with the book, it's probably like 99-1 or
Right.
something like that.
Yeah.
So most people aren't going to read the book, but they're willing to, right? So like real estate entrepreneurs, agents, investors, like we give a lot of our time for free. We give a
Mhm.
lot of our time for free. And Drew, we met in an advertising group, paid ads,
Mhm.
right? So how can you get paid ads going for yourself as a person that's used to giving out your services for free? That's where you enter a book. You start to sell a book. And because we're like part of the same mentorship, uh, $20, right? One book a day could go a long way to contributing to your advertising costs.
Mhm.
So, the simpler method is like some kind of book marketing. And how do you even simplify that? Because, like you said, that could be a hurdle. Like you start telling people book, they're like, oh my God, no, there's no way I can do that.
Right.
Right. So it's your marketing, and the way you do it and the way my process is we try to type. Typing is very exhausting. Writing, you're staring at that blank screen, or even you writing outlines, you're like, man, this is like a headache. What
Mhm.
I'm going to do? I don't even know how I'm going to get there. The simpler method of the book is you talk.
Okay.
And we as professionals, we can talk about any and everything, right? We know
Right.
our topics pretty well. So my simpler method for people is typically like I started off with 10, right? I'm like, get 10 questions and answer those questions, right? That's how you do it. Now it's like, look, take 5 questions and you answer those 5 questions, right? And ideally, the way you answer them is you answer them through a video.
Mhm.
Those videos become chapters of your book. And there's no rules of how long it should be or how short it should be. They're just videos. And most likely, like if you're serious about your business, you're already doing some kind of marketing or you're already doing some kind of videos, right?
Mhm.
So you just take that. Here we go, repurposing. You just take those videos. So I answered 5 questions about selling a house fast. I take those videos, I have them transcribed into a document, I put them together inside of the book, and then I have a book, right? And it's like, oh my God, some people might read it, some people might not. Oh, what about the editing? What about the colors? What about the pictures? But you got a
Yeah.
book, right?
Right.
And what's more important about that book, and like you've been through, we're in the same mentorship,
Yeah.
the platforms and people understand what a book is. They're not worried about being tricked or duped into all this other stuff. I got a book, and the book is going to tell you how to do this. And you can say whatever you want in that book. That book can be chapter 1, you need to call me. Chapter 2, you need to call the mortgage person. It can be whatever you want it to be. It's no longer marketing material.
Mm.
And the other thing that I really love about books is that people never throw them away. You'll throw away a business card, you'll throw away some flyers, but a book, you put it on a shelf somewhere and then maybe you donate it. And when you donate it, guess what it's going to do? It's going to market itself to the next person and the next person and the next person and the next person. Right. And one more thing that book doesn't have to be 100 pages. It
Mhm.
can be like 60 pages. So I was talking with another woman. She did a book. It's 60 pages. The book is not for you to tell everything. People still need your services. The way I like to help people understand is that it's a marketing item, it's a marketing asset for your business. It's going to help cut your costs and it's going to help deliver your message. People still need you. And that's one of the ways that you can fund your advertising and your marketing. So my simpler method is like marketing.
Mhm.
Some of the things that I talked about, I might maybe need to sequence it in a certain way, but it's like recycling the content and stuff that you're already sharing.
Yeah.
And creating that book like is an amazing way to do that. And you take those videos, transcribe them, package it up. Hey, I got this thing. You interested in it? Yeah, pay the shipping and it's yours.
Hmm. So your book, the okay. So tell everyone about what your book is called. Remarketing, And am I right on that? And is there a subtitle?
Yeah, the book is called so I have 10 books now, and the main book, like you said, so you mentioned like I would have never, so my collaboration with Ron LeGrand writing the foreword, that would have never happened if I didn't have a book. Hey, do you mind being an authority, an author, a contributor to my book?
Huh.
It would have never happened if I didn't do the work to have the book in the first place. And once I had that book, I was like, this is what I'm doing. Would you be? He was like, yes. But if I asked him maybe something else, like, hey, you want to be in my marketing or something? I don't know what would have happened. But that's kind of how I did that. And yeah, the name of that book is called Remarketing. It stands for real estate marketing, and then paid advertising is a play on
Right.
remarketing is also a play on like the actual real estate marketing.
Which can
So
be a very affordable way and undervalued way, unnoticed, kind of way, underappreciated way to get eyeballs and traffic back to your properties, back to your online, not tangible properties, but your online properties. Well, I guess
mhm.
maybe tangible properties, but yeah, remarketing. If we're talking like online stuff, So yeah, I thought that was clever. The real estate marketing, but remarketing. So okay, and so is the subtitle? Is there a subtitle to this?
There is a subtitle. I have a copy here,
Okay,
and it was suggested by my mentor. I was telling like Dan Kennedy, someone he works with is Darcy Juarez, and she suggested the subtitle, and I just took it. So the subtitle is "Insider Secrets of Successful Advertising, Lead Generation, and Marketing Implementation." Right. So
I see it
to
now.
emphasize another simpler method, one of the things that we're doing as people is we're not implementing. We're learning all of this stuff, but we're not applying any of it.
Yeah, I was talking to someone. What one of these calls we get, the way these things are structured, a lot of modern day marketing is to have a conversation and get on a phone or a Zoom call. And one of the guys I was talking to was talking about just execution. Here I was actually asking him about, hey, personally, what do I put out there in like a free training or a book? What do I hold back? What do I put out? He's like, listen, don't hold back, because execution is something that so few do, like implementation, execution, all that stuff. I mean, you don't have to worry about it. Like, it's just not, the principle is like, no one, very few, I shouldn't say no one, but very few are going to take, absorb, consume, assimilate, synthesize, all that stuff, and then execute,
Mhm.
and that's yeah. So insider secrets of successful advertising, lead generation, and marketing implementation. If someone picked up that book and flipped to, all right, I'm formulating this question in real time. If someone picked up that book and turned right to a particular page or a particular concept, and not like you have to have the page number in your head, but what would be the one thing that you would prefer that they to help them if they just picked up your book and you're like, oh man, if they just turn to this concept and learn about that, that's gonna be that one concept alone. If they just learn it and then start to implement that into what they're doing, can change their trajectory, it can change their life. What do you think? What's in that book?
I would have to flip it back and say the title. Like the title is important, and the
Mm.
title is remarketing. Like you said, it's a play. But one of the biggest reason why I wrote the book is because we don't follow up.
Oh,
Like that's the point of
think of that.
marketing.
Yeah,
Like like you got to follow up a couple of times, six, seven, 8 times, right? Like even us, this call, you're like, Jerome, let's schedule. Jerome, let's schedule. And I wasn't forgetting or anything like that. Even, but you got to follow up with people.
yeah,
So before you even get into the book, I'll say the title is important. Like making sure you follow up. It does, whether it's digital, whether it's online, offline, by phone, cold call,
yeah.
follow up with people, remarket.
I wasn't, you blew my mind because I wasn't even thinking that. I'm so into the the digital and paid ads and things like that, remarketing. Someone looked at my YouTube video. Well, I can
Yeah,
remarket them. Someone
yeah.
visited my site or checked out my landing page, clicked my ad. I can remarket them for a lower cost per click, or a lower
Hmm.
price. But yeah, my gosh, follow up. That's so it seems so simple, but yeah, you're right. It's like following up. Would you say, I've heard some sales mentors say like you follow up until until you hear a yes or a no, or sometimes just like not yet, but hearing some kind of getting some
Yeah.
closure on the follow up is can be a huge deal. Okay. Um Well, I hope you didn't. Okay, listeners, listen, still get the book. All right. Still, Jerome just said, just look at the title and follow up. That can be life changing in and of itself. But still worthy of the book. I like the magnet on the front, the cover where you got a bunch of little houses and you got that magnet pulling in pulling in sales, pulling in leads. This is what no one is telling you about advertising, lead gen, and marketing implementation. You got one more for us? Like what is something else that no one else is telling us about all, any of these and all of these? Lead gen, marketing implementation,
So my
advertising.
my favorite that I would kind of emphasize to that I learned from Dan Kennedy
Mm-hmm.
is be willing to spend money. So one of the things that he says is that the person willing to spend the most money to acquire a customer wins.
Yeah.
And that's where I was like, oh my God, Jerome, you spent all that time writing that book and you got all these products because I'm willing to do what it takes to get the customer, right? Whereas most people are like, oh no, you don't know. I want to do like maybe $5 a day and maybe I'll get a lead. And it's like, it don't work that way. And we're dealing with people's hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of assets. So we need to change our mindset about
Yeah.
how we can acquire them as a customer or a client. And that takes an investment. So I
Right.
want people to start thinking about that a different way. And that's what I'm saying. Like the book, like now, yeah, you can do the organic strategies, but now you have a book and you can be like, you know what? I can mitigate my marketing expenses because the customer is paying for their own advertising in a way by buying your book, right? They
Mm-hmm.
buy the book and then they can buy other stuff from you. And we are so used to giving our free services, we don't have these products as real estate entrepreneur, but you can offer them a mini course. You can
Right.
offer them checklists, planners. You can offer them all kind of stuff after you offer them the book because the book is such a uh, low. It's such a. It's not scary like other marketing material. People know what a book is. They're like, okay, yeah, sure. Send me the book for $10 or $20, whatever it is,
Right.
right? As an example, like you, I sent you a copy. I was like, hey, send me your address. Sure, sure. You didn't even think about it. But if I say, hey, Drew, what's your address? And I just ask you, there's going to be some resistance there because like, why do you want my address?
Mm-hmm.
Right? But I'm like, hey, send me your book. And now that I have the address and stuff like that, guess what I can do? I can remarket and I can follow up because I have the address. And
Mm-hmm.
I can catch the people offline now
Mm-hmm.
instead of on because it's a lot going on online. So now I can catch them online as well as offline because I collected that information that they sent me.
Yeah. There's something else I was going to ask you about. Curious about books. It was okay. So you have 10 books.
Yes.
Okay. Cool little concept or a fact I didn't know about yet. What about are the nine others? Are they prior to this one that we've been talking about?
Yeah, so the one we've been talking about, that was the first book. The other ones came after, and they're about different subjects and different, and
Awesome.
marketing, different people are at different times. So,
Right.
um, a really good quote that I heard from Jim Edwards. You know Jim Edwards?
I think so. That is
He's
familiar.
from like he's the copywriter guy for like he works with Russell Brunson
Okay. Yeah,
and
I
he
know.
like created like funnel scripts. And so one of the things that he said that was really healthy that has really been sticking with me is that people they don't buy the book, they don't buy products, they buy the title of the product.
Mm,
So I can take the same book and I could put a new title on it, say
mm-hmm,
the same stuff inside of the book, and different people will buy it because and again, they some of them won't read it.
mm-hmm,
And as a business, like it's not my objective really for them to read it. Yes, I want good content in there, but what I'm mostly trying to do is I'm trying to get them on a call with me. I'm trying to mitigate my advertising costs.
mm-hmm,
So I can take the same content of this book that I already created, maybe add a chapter, maybe subtract a chapter, split it into two. I can do a bunch of stuff. And people aren't buying the book really. They're
mm-hmm.
buying like the headline. So I can take this content that I put in this book and then I can call it how to get more business as an advertiser. And then I got a new avatar and on and
Mm-hmm.
on and on and on.
How to follow up? How
Right. How to follow up.
uh,
Right. Yeah.
three systems of following up that close that
Yeah. And
combat
then it's like
another.
the cool thing is like it's your content, so you can do whatever you want with it.
Yeah.
So one of the books, like I got 10 books. I think I'm up to like 12, but two
Mhm.
of them I don't count because it's like the same content with a different title.
Right. Okay. All right. Interesting. Tell me a little more about you mentioned earlier you were hustling. You said you had a family. So tell me, bring us into family. What's life look like?
I do have a family. I have 4 children. They are 12, 10, 5, and 3. And most of what I do is I do for them. I need to be the best version of me I could be.
Yeah.
So I could support them and do what I can for them. I absolutely love them. Love my kids.
Mhm.
Um, and that's a lot of what I do. Why I'm so serious, why I'm committed, and why I'm committed to growing as an individual and growing my business so I can support my family.
Mhm. You married there in Philadelphia?
They are in Philadelphia. Yes.
Okay. Um, okay. I'm gonna take you into a different part of the show. Ready? We're gonna
Yes.
we're gonna we're gonna think back. We're gonna learn. Okay, you say you're 33, so if I might edit this out, but um 33, we're gonna call this part of the show. You just want to date me? I'm gonna ask Jerome. All right, so let me start that over. All right, well, we're going to switch gears here a little bit. We're going to go into the segment of the show where I call it, it's just for fun. It's called You Just Want to Date Me. I'm going to ask Jerome some questions that will date him. And so let's start with the first one. We all love music, or most people love music. So the question goes like this. The first music that I ever owned came on what? Was it a CD? Was it a cassette tape? Was it the vinyl? Was it MP3, digital? What first music that you ever owned? Think back. What was it?
Yeah.
What was the
So
format first?
yeah. So the format was a cassette.
Okay. Mm,
I got it from, I remember this was at the time that Men in Black was pop. No, Wild Wild West by Will
okay.
Smith.
Yep. We give us
So at like Burger King or McDonald's, one of those places, they were giving out like those cassettes with like 2 tracks on it.
okay.
And I remember getting that cassette and keeping it, and I thought I could dance, so I used to like try to dance to it.
Do you know what who he sampled?
No,
Yeah, it's
no.
Stevie Wonder.
Okay.
Um I can't remember the song though. It's escaped me. Listeners are probably going, it's this. But yeah, it's a Stevie Wonder. I think yeah, yeah, he sampled a bunch of stuff. So did Britney Spears. All right, so that was the little freebie in the McDonald's promo was one
Yes.
of the Wild
Yeah.
Wild West. Okay, that's cool. That's I don't remember that. That's oh, I do remember. Of course, I'm dating myself now. Is hamburger or cheeseburger, something something a Happy Meal. It was like this challenge to kind of like rap, just kind of like singing back this little vinyl. It wasn't a record. It was like a piece. It was like record grooves. It was a record on a piece of card stock, and you would put that on a record player, but it would like curl up too, just like it would, a paper does if it gets a little bit humid, and it does that. But you could stretch it out. You could put it on drop a needle on it, and I remember having that like in the mid '80s, some kind of McDonald's. Anyway, so we got what it was and the format of that. Let me give you another one. All right, this is more Mad Libs formatting here. So it goes like this: the first mind blowing the first mind blowing film that I ever saw was blank, and I saw it when I was in the blank grade or blank. How old were you? So what's a movie that stands out? We're dating you here.
So the first mind-blowing movie, and it was because of the experience, and it was like I kind of didn't grow up with like my real father. So it was my stepfather, and he took me to the movies. I can't remember how old I was exactly, but I believe I was in high school. I was just in
Mhm.
high school, so maybe ninth grade or a little before. So somewhere between seventh and ninth grade.
I'm trying to
And the
guess what
first
you're gonna
movie,
say. Yeah,
which became my favorite for a very long time, was The Matrix.
I
That was the
knew it.
movie that I saw.
I knew you were going there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
How did you know?
Because it was man. You talk about one of the when it comes to film, one of the pop culture's most um pivotal pieces of content, pieces of entertainment content. And entertainment is like a dime a dozen type of content. You know what I mean? It's like when
Okay.
there's high dollar for all these courses because there's some kind of value exchange. There's some kind of thing. Oh, you're going to teach me how to flip houses. You're going to teach me how to, make sales. But when it comes to entertainment, A lot of that stuff. I mean, go to Walmart and go to the DVD bin. You got like DVDs for, $1.99, or so. They can't even like give them away anymore, But when it comes to, like, so there's so much film, there's so many movies in the history of movie making. There's so many bad movies, and there's so many movies that, gosh, especially now, that are just like being made to like make a buck. It feels like, um, I think studios and Disney Disney are just ruining like franchises so efficiently, because they're like, hey, it feels like they have this mindset like, let's lock onto that franchise because we don't have to do the work. It's already there, and we'll just keep we'll play off the nostalgia and actually get an older crowd too, and bring in their kids and all that, and then they like crap on it and just ruin it. Like, what happened to some good story? But The Matrix was so pivotal because no one had come up with anything. I mean, we were getting into like that digital age too, because you remember, like, it was so funny. Like, you remember they weren't flip phones. They were like well, I guess they had a few flip phones in the movie, but they had that, was it like Nokia
Yeah.
thing where like it shot out. And now we look at like an iPhone where the whole thing is a computer, and it's a very powerful computer, and it blows away anything that would have been in that movie as far as tech and advancement, and because this little computer could blow away that Nokia. But yeah, it was just so fresh and unique and weird. And then the special effects that had to be designed, like the bullet
Yeah.
time, like everyone has either spoofed it or imitated it, like both mocked it in a fun way, like I would say, in a way in which they respect it, right? They bullet time, they try and take that effect. You see it, boy, you saw that effect in commercials, like commercials for erectile dysfunction or something like that. You're like, what's this commercial? Like, someone spills juice and it's like everything pauses, and then the camera goes around and in and through the action and through everything, like it just got paused in midair. And that came out of the Matrix. That was the pioneer. So there's so many things that the Matrix was the pioneer for so many things. So anyway, I figured you were going to go there, and I was kind of ballparking with your age, like if you're about that old.
Okay.
About
Okay.
yeah. So fun. I love talking movies. I got one more. So growing up, primetime sitcom. Did you ever watch a primetime sitcom? And do you have a favorite, and reason why?
So I'm not the greatest on what prime time means, but my favorite
Like after
sitcom,
what, like 6 or 7 o'clock in the evening.
I think it would be My Wife and Kids.
Okay.
That's a prime
Is
time.
that a
That's a
Wayans?
sitcom that I enjoy. Yep, and I still watch. Like I think I just watched it last weekend. It's still funny.
Yeah.
I really enjoy. Yeah, and it's also very healthy. Like
Like
healthy
innocent, right?
disagreements. It's family centric. Yeah, it's like
Yes.
really
Yeah.
good show.
Yeah, that's I'll have to check that one out, because when it comes to watching stuff with my kids, like we watch Different Strokes.
Okay.
That might sound weird to people, and or I don't know, odd, like, is Drew, but I'm a homeschool dad, and yeah, I care about there's all kinds of things in culture that, yeah, you can say what you want. I don't want my kids even opening Pandora. I don't even want them cracking the lid on Pandora's box, because once they do, there's no way to put that back in the box. So a lot of cultural things, like, where's the innocence? So yeah, I'm not as familiar with the show, but I do know that the show it was known as being more innocent and wholesome, which
Yes. Good
which
good descriptions. Good
yeah,
descriptions is a very healthy show and it's funny
where
too.
dad was a leader too, where dad
Yes.
was actually not made to look like the idiot.
Yes.
Those sitcoms
Exactly.
would drive me crazy. I hated
Mhm.
those. It was like dad became such an easy punching bag. And I
Yeah.
think culturally we all paid for it. I think we're still paying for it,
I
because
do too. I do too. And like you mentioned, like a leader, and just for our audience, like
mhm.
the he was also an entrepreneur, business owner too. So
Oh
it was
yeah.
like, yeah, it was a really healthy spin on that.
Okay. What do you do in the show? Was it Damon
He
Wayans?
owned, I don't know which one it
One of the
was.
brothers, I
Yeah,
remember.
one of the brothers, and he owned a trucking company.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
But he
Like
was still like healthily, it's just like you kind of talk about, he was still healthily say, no, you still got to work for stuff. You still got to earn. Like he was
that's right.
still make sure they understood that as children. And
Yeah.
it wasn't all sunshine and rape. It was very healthy. And like you said, the dad was not a punching bag.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Cool. Well, that's about, I got two last questions. I got a kind of a closing question, but is there anything that, as I'm asking you questions, is there anything you're thinking like, it would have been cool to unpack this a little bit more? Is there a question that I didn't ask, or not that I forgot to ask or didn't know to ask? Is there something like that you wanted to speak to while I got you here and got some time on video and microphone today?
Not really. The emphasis that I would like to make about people is we talked about this when you came on my podcast is
Yeah.
like I know the book stuff that I mentioned can be kind of daunting, but the main thing is people we kind of overthink it. And if you could
Yeah.
really like go implement one of the ways you implement is like just create some videos. Like
Mhm.
you're expert about your topic. Anybody can create some videos around their topic. And that gives you a strong foundation to create all kind of content, right? It doesn't even have to be a book. You create a video, you have that transcribed, turn it into a blog post, a social media post, something like that. But get out there and implement. Like that's the most important thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Just get out there and start doing, start, it's something I struggle with. It's like to get in the mindset. There's so many things. Sometimes the things that take it's hard to even say they take like 5 minutes because you're like, oh my gosh, that has taken me 6 weeks to do. It's like I call it the curtain rod in the corner phenomenon, where there's like curtain rods in the corner of the room and they're waiting for me to hang them up for 8 months. They're just sitting there. And it's only going to take me about half an hour, you know? But every project turns into like a multi-step project. You're like, okay, I'll just go and screw these in the wall. Oh, well, I just stripped out the drywall. Now I got to go get some anchors, you know, I got to go some kind of screw anchors for them. Now I just broke the screw. Now I bent that rod or something like that. And so it turns into, it's like the kind of stuff. Anyway, my point is like, it just takes a little bit of time. And for me, I feel like I got to have that. I got to block out, like I got to do this to my workspace and be thinking of nothing else and kind of be in a good mindset, a kind of good headspace to focus. And that can be hard to do, but yeah, you probably can relate to when you set the timer and you just, I don't know, you throw some headphones on or do whatever you need to do to kind of close out the outside world and just focus and just see how you do in the next 20 minutes. And chances are you'll get some momentum, and then that 20 minutes will turn to an hour, and you'll get some dopamine after that. You know, you'll get some endorphins firing. So yeah, is that how it goes when you did your book? Is that you just kind of said, all right, I'm going to turn off things, I'm going to focus, I'm going to just jam on this? Did you record in front of an audience? Did you just hit
Yeah,
record?
so the way I did it was I already because I'm already like implementing, I was like, all right, what have I created that I kind of want to talk about in the book? And I already created a bunch of content around the subject that I'm already talking about, right?
Yeah.
And the audience is like you're talking to entrepreneurs and coaches
Mhm.
that they already create content, they already know what they're talking about. So all they got to do is take something that they've already done and compile
Mhm.
it into the book or did a blog post or something like that. So really quick example that I often offer to people, like this interview that we did today, like you can like have it transcribed. You can, hey, Jerome said this, Drew said this, and you can do it all throughout. You can put it into some kind of document and just send it or share it, right? It
Yeah.
doesn't have to just be a video. It can be other types of content too. If you smash it down, this was a special episode of Jerome and Drew where they talk about special thing this, and hey, who wants it? You can start to send it. So
I got one more question that I just thought of with that, because I think one of the things that can hinder, as I'm describing, I need to clear my mental headspace. I need to clear that out, sit down and focus. How do you have any advice on ordering things? You got all this information. I think sometimes it's overwhelming. At least I'll personally speak to this, and maybe people
mhm,
will relate. There's so much information that you got up here, and you can speak to it. If someone asks you a question, you're like, cool, yeah, let me
mhm,
answer your question. It's easy because it's right there in the moment. It's
mhm.
organic. They ask you a question, boom. But how did you structure, how did you
Yeah.
get chapters in order? Is there an order? Is it kind of like a compilation, and where order doesn't really matter so much, or what?
So you kind of answer your question. Like I put the order that I thought
Okay.
was most ideal, but one of the things I think like we kind of overthink sometimes is like, oh, what's the order? What's the this? What's the that? And one thing I want people to consider, again, like people, they're like some people will digest your content, but they're not really buying it for that. They have a problem.
Mhm.
You have an advertising budget that you need to. That's the main focus, right? As
Yeah.
advertisers. The other thing that I want people to think about is like, so order. Like inside of my book, right? I'm not perfect, and I let people know. I'm like, listen, I'm not perfect. If you think I'm perfect and you want me to be perfect, I'm not for you. I say that in a way,
Yeah.
and kind of the way I've said that in my book is I have a preface or a letter to the grammar police, right? I'm like, listen,
Mhm.
grammar police, I'm not perfect.
Yeah.
I and if you expect me to be perfect, you should return the book for your money back because I'm not trying to be perfect. I have a message that I need to deliver, and that's what I want to do. Right. So I'm setting the tone of the book. I'm like, look, I'm not perfect. I'm out here doing something else. I'm not a world class renowned. This is my main thing. I got a business to run. Setting
Mhm.
the tone. So the reason why I mention that is because you can do the same thing with other things. Right.
You said I'm
This is
not
a
perfect.
book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I was going to insert a joke. I'm not perfect. I got places to be at. Grammar,
Yeah.
please.
Right. So one of the ways I would do that is I would do the same thing with a book. Listen, people that are interested in my book, I would set the tone. This is
Yeah.
my book, and I really don't have an order, but I had to deliver a message to my audience because it
Yeah.
needs to get out of my brain and out there to some people that it can serve.
Yeah.
That's what I'm doing in this book. If you can't accept that, you're not my client. Get your money back, throw the book in the trash.
Hmm.
So setting the tone.
Hmm.
Setting the tone. This is
That's good.
version one. I will
Hmm.
make it better, but right now is not the time. Setting that tone to just get it out there and get moving.
Yeah, that's inspirational to get the version 1.0
Yeah.
out
And you
there.
can say it. And the people that love you and that want to work with you, they're not going to complain.
Yeah, they
Oh, I
understand.
completely understand, Drew. Thank
Yeah.
you for even doing it. You got some
Right.
good information here, like the podcast. And I thought you were going to ask this like about the editing. That's what I
Yeah.
thought you were going.
Yeah.
But
Do
even
it.
the podcast, like we have a conversation, I was like, it doesn't need to be edited. People don't care. They want they like a lot people that like you, they want the authentic stuff.
Right.
So sometimes people will pay, like they'll go get the button up thing and then it's like, hey, you want the unedited too? They're like, yeah, they want that more than the real thing. Because
Yeah.
they want to see the real and the raw versions of you. So
Yeah. Boy, you got me thinking on that. Like I'm thinking. Well, I'm speculating that they're thinking. What did you leave out? What did the unedited?
yeah,
What'd you
right.
leave out? What did you say off the cuff? You know.
Remember, so go back to your movie director's cut and
Hmm.
that's they pay for that.
Hmm.
So you got
Yeah.
the edited perfect version, then they're like, you want the bloopers and the uncut? And people are
Hmm.
like, yeah, give me that too. I want that. And then you understand marketing. So you go ahead and put it order bump. You want the unedited? Take it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, if people want to learn more about you and your messaging, especially real estate entrepreneurs of all flavors and residential, commercial, and coaches and agents, and people making deals on properties and people making deals on their information that they're selling. So if they want to learn more and want to get more from you, you got your website, jeromelewis.com. What else would you where else would you point them?
I will point them there and they can find me like just about anywhere else. I also have a podcast,
Okay.
remarketingpodcast.com. Me and Drew, we have an episode together. So
Mhm.
I would point them there. The website is the main thing. If you want to learn about me, jeromelewis.com will take you to all of the other places. So
Very good. All right. Well, thank you so much for being here. I had a lot of fun just talking and talking shop with you. And yeah, best of luck to you with your trajectory, your real estate career.
thank you, sir.
All right, man. Music and dancing. All right. Well, cool. So how's that?
It was good. You want to pause it or stop the recording
Oh,
or?